Yeah, it does really feel that Arsenal need to do something desperately now in the January transfer window with all these injuries. So yeah, we'll get on to the potential targets they could explore. You've spoken in the past about how it doesn't really have to be a centre forward, just has to be an attacker who's got that sort of X factor, that player who can just make something happen out of nothing. But does Arteta really need to hone in on these right wingers, given that he's got three out at the moment?
Well, I think he does. We know any player who signs for Arsenal now has to be versatile. It's such a key thing for Mikel Arteta. It's not a case of just playing in one position. It's playing in multiple positions. And that was absolutely what they'll be looking at this month. They won't rush into anything. They won't risk anything. And I don't think they should. You don't want to sign someone just for the sake of it. But as I look at it now, they've already travelled out to LA to meet with the Kroenkes before Christmas to map out their summer plans. So those plans are in place. If there's a way that you can fast track at least one of those moves to January, even if it means paying an extra £10 million, £5 million. I know it just seems like a flippant thing to say because that's still a lot of money. But if you can overpay this month and it gets you that player for an extra 6 months and it can get you over the second half of the season and potentially win you silverware, then it's worth it in my eyes because this squad just looks like it's lacking. And they definitely need another option out wide for me. I know all the talk's always about a central forward, and Arsenal do need another centre forward. There's no doubt about it. But I still look at the makeup of the squad and I feel like they will score goals with what they've got in terms of forward line. But I just feel they're crying out for another winger. They really are. If Sterling's not an option, and let's face it, it doesn't look like he's much of an option because Mikel's he likes to talk Raheem Sterling up, but ultimately he doesn't use him on the pitch when he's fit and available. So that says it all. So if Sterling's not really considered the guy who can come on and play a lot of minutes over the second half of the season, you have to go out and get another option who can play out wide, whether that's on the right or it's on the left. You need someone who can do that and can change a game, add a little bit. I do think Arsenal are a bit slow. I'd love to see an injection of pace brought in, another bit of sort of injection of pace, so you're not just relying on Gabriel Martinelli. So I do think it's really, really key, whether it be a striker or a winger, something needs to happen this window. Otherwise, I just think it's going to be too much of a struggle for Arsenal.
Could that injection of pace be provided by a certain Marcus Rashford? Obviously, we know he's pursuing a new challenge away from Manchester United. Arsenal's name has been mentioned. It looks like it would be a loan deal, so like the Raheem Sterling deal, if
Mm.
anything goes through. But there's reports that United would be reluctant to do business with a Premier League rival. Is he an avenue? Is he a player that Arsenal should explore, or do you maybe look at the Raheem Sterling loan and think, that's one that's best avoided?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, they couldn't do it anyway unless because you can only sign two Premier League players on loan in a season. Arsenal have already got two in Neto and Sterling, so something would have to happen, one of those signings for Arsenal to get another loanee in from the Premier League. And I just look at Rashford. I just think it's too much of a gamble. I think he's a good player, but I just think it would be too much of a gamble. You got a player there who's obviously his head's all over the place, I would say, and he's never really been out of Manchester before. Coming down to the bright lights of London, I just don't know. It doesn't feel like something that Mikel Arteta would do. I don't think, and I think it would be too much of a gamble. It's not really what Arsenal need. I hope he gets a good move, Rashford, and I hope he gets his career going because I like him. I think he's a really good player, but I don't think Arsenal's one that sort of screams Marcus Rashford to me. I think he probably needs to get himself abroad, get away from England for a little bit, and try and rebuild that career that's sort of stagnated a little bit in the last year or so.
Yeah, so in terms of, alternative targets, I think I was reading some reports this morning. Nico Williams, he's got that, I
Mm.
think, £50 million or something release clause. But if Arsenal are really, you've said they really do need a reinforcement this window. So, if you were in, say, Arteta's position or Jason Ito's position, would you, just say, here's your 50 million, give us Nico Williams?
I mean, I wouldn't say no to it. I mean, he's not had the best of seasons, Nico Williams. So Arsenal did want him in the summer. Everyone wanted him in the summer, but he didn't want to go. So it depends on what his stance is really, and whether he's changed that. Because no one wanted to put down the release clause in the summer because they knew he was gonna stay in Spain. Whether he's changed that opinion, I don't know. But look, I think he's a fantastic player, and it doesn't overly surprise me that he's struggled a bit this season as well. He had a real, when the distance in the Euros, then did have a lot of uncertainty about his future. He stayed. Does he maybe regret that decision a little bit? I don't know, but it doesn't surprise me. He struggled to find his best form again, but he's in a hell of a player, Nico Williams, and he would be a very, very exciting signing for Arsenal. So I would certainly not be against them going down and laying the release clause on him. I do wonder if that's be one more for the summer than now. But look, as I said, if you can fast track something you've got planned for the summer and it's possible in January, then he would certainly lift everyone. He would lift the crowd. He's that sort of player that they need. I think direct, runs at his fullback, beats his man. He can score goals, can create goals as well, and he's only going to get better. So someone's going to get a hell of a player in Nico Williams when they do finally sort of get him out of Athletic. And yeah, I'd love it to be Arsenal.
Yeah, me too, me too. Arsenal they're no strangers to paying sort of 40, 50 million for these top La Liga talents. And one of those is Thomas Partey, who,
Mm.
in terms of outgoings, he's a bit of an uncertain one in the last 6 months of his contract. And I think there's been tentative talk of a possible renewal, but it doesn't look like there's anything, no significant movement on that front yet. He has a lot of injuries, we know that, but when he's fit, he is an integral player for Mikel Arteta, especially this season playing in that number six role or playing at right back if need be. We saw that in the Brighton game. I know a lot of Arsenal fans don't like it when Partey plays at right back, but sometimes, like at Brighton, Mikel didn't have a choice. But I think he was just over 40 million 5 years ago, so for him to leave on a free transfer would be a bit of a blot on the financial notebook. And there's been links with Barcelona as well, a possible Frenkie de Jong replacement. So if there is a suitable offer this month, could you see Arsenal doing business, or do you think he's that important to Mikel's system that he's going to try to keep him for the rest of the season?
Yeah, no, I can't see there's any way they'd do any business for Partey in January. There's no point. You're not going to get much money for him with 6 months left on his contract. So, unless someone came in with a ridiculous offer that you kind of had to accept from a business point of view, which I don't see anyone doing, then it just doesn't make any sense to me. You see him out for the season, and then have a discussion. As far as I'm aware, there has been no discussions yet with Thomas. He's very happy at Arsenal. He loves it in London. Just had a new baby over here, so he's settled. But there haven't been any contract talks, certainly as far as I'm aware, on him. And Mikel's sort of said it himself recently that he doesn't want any of that sort of stuff now. He wants to wait until the end of the season. It's a difficult one with Thomas because he's going to be 32 at the start of next season. His history record is not great, so I can understand from Arsenal's point of view. You'd look at that; he's one of the top earners at the club, and you think, can we really give him an extension due to his age, due to his injury record? So I can understand they're thinking about it. But from Thomas's point of view as well, I think he's shown this season when he's fit, and he's stayed fit this season, which is great. He's been Arsenal's best midfielder, there's no doubt about it. I think he'll be getting offers from elsewhere as well that will probably be longer and more lucrative than what Arsenal are offering. So as happy as he is in London, he's got to look at that and think for himself, for his family, what's the best move for him. So it's not going to be a simple conclusion, I don't think, to these potential discussions that will happen further down the line, but not for January for me. No, Thomas is absolutely key to this Arsenal team at the moment. He's showing that he's fit. He's playing every week. He's playing at right back. He's playing in midfield. And Mikel could not do without him at the moment. So no, nothing will happen this month, and then it'll be just the talks will start towards the end of the season or at the end of the season, and a decision will have to be made.